What's up, my virtual bears? Welcome to another episode of New Game Monday. Today we will be reviewing Finding Grace by Monte Perdido Studio. This game is an interactive narrative taking place in 2053. The story follows you as you chase after your best friend who ran away from the government into a never-ending desert. If you are excited for today's video, make sure you hit that like button down below and leave a comment telling me if you're planning on getting the game. Starting in this video, I will have a new segment at the end of all of these reviews that ranks the game on different categories from 1 to 5. So make sure you stick around till the end to get that final ranking. Now with that being said, let's hop into today's video. Just like last week, this game is more of an interactive story compared to a full-on game. With that being said, there is still a lot of content in this game for you gamers. Before we talk about those mechanics, let's talk a bit about the story. The story of this game absolutely blew me away. The game does a bunch of showing along with its telling. The whole journey you find yourself following in the footsteps of your missing friend, experiencing everything she describes to you through these tapes that she left all over her ship. Vanishing Grace has beautiful visuals, which are really well seen in the opening cinematic, which I won't talk too much on as I don't want to spoil it. I'm not a huge story person, which is why I don't normally spend much time reviewing that part of games, but this game really deserves a larger portion devoted to the story than I am able to give. So for God's sake, go check out the game to experience the story in its fullest. And with that being said, let's talk about the mechanics. A couple of notable ones range from boomerang throwing, ship driving, and puzzles. None of the tasks are too physically demanding, which we'll be getting back to later, but the puzzles are very fun with a good balance of searching and problem solving. Spoiler for a puzzle coming up, so skip to the timestamp on screen if you are not trying to cheat. The puzzle I'm going to talk about is the one that takes place in Chapter 3, where you have to combine elements together to fix the green box. This puzzle was very neat, first requiring you to print out the corresponding key to open the box. From there, you must fix the box using a key that opens a chest that is found in your room. By placing the replacement parts in your room, it forces the player to walk in and see the giant translation chart needed to complete the final part of the puzzle. All in all, this puzzle really hit home for me, but it could be better. Since you can't see the chart from the green box, it would make sense that you could take a picture of the translation chart and bring that image with you back to the green box. Sadly, no matter how you take the picture, the image always comes out way too small to actually read the text. While continuing my playthrough, there were a lot of these moments where I felt like the game could just be a bit more immersive and strategic if it just took advantage of its platform. That actually leads me to my next segment. This game doesn't need to be a VR title. The more I played, the more I questioned why this game needed to be in VR. I've seen and played games just like these that were on the PC and they were great. None of the puzzles or tasks really required VR, and it seemed all of them could be replicated on PC. The only mechanic I think really benefits from VR would be the boomerang recharging you have to do occasionally to charge up your ship. Because the slower pace of the story, playing in VR actually can become tedious as your neck begins to cramp. One of my favorite things about VR is sticking out my fingers and clicking buttons. Many games attempt this and fail either because the fingers are too thick or things just don't line up. This is probably the reason this game used a trigger event, but personally this killed my immersion as I could never figure out whether it was the trigger or the grip button that actually clicked the in-game button. As well as that, it always took multiple attempts, which altogether was very annoying and killed the flow of the game. My final thought is just I feel that this game didn't need to be made as a VR game, and I would definitely recommend playing it sitting down if you want the best experience. Now that we're halfway through the video, I wanted to say if you are enjoying the content, be sure to subscribe in order to fix our disgusting sub to viewer ratio. that percentage, bro. Look at the graph. And if you are looking for friends to play with in VR, I definitely recommend joining my Discord server linked down below in the description. Shameless plug out of the way, let's hop back into the review. One thing I'm starting to see in VR games and just games in general is the lack of good in-depth tutorials. Nowadays, common flat screen video game tropes are commonly known. An example would be like seeing a glowing or glistening item means it can either be picked up or interacted with. There is a great video by Rasputin where he takes the lady he lives with, his wife, and has her play a series of video games. Her never playing video games before had a very difficult time playing these games as she didn't understand the common gaming tropes that go along with progressing the plot. If you want a more in-depth look, the video will be linked down below in the description. The reason I bring all of this up is because VR games are trying to do the same thing and it's not working. VR is a whole new medium with new mechanics and tropes, which is why tutorials are still very much needed for basically any person picking up a new VR title. The problem I'm seeing is more and more games not having good in-depth tutorials, which leads to frustration. This problem also carries over into game as VR tries to be more immersive and directions are seen less and less, which can lead to people getting stuck and confused. An example of this can be seen in game when I ran into a game-breaking bug during a time when I was already confused about what I was supposed to be doing. This caused me to waste like 20 minutes doing nothing before I inevitably had to reset and start over the chapter completely, forcing me to redo everything I had already done before getting stuck. Sadly, I kept running into more and more glitches that were only fixable by resetting the chapter. For $20, I would have hoped that I wouldn't run into so many bugs. But as we've seen, bugs seem to be something that we just need to learn to deal with. Cyberpunk. I don't have a good segue out of this segment, so let's just get into the grade. Today's video is actually the first video I will be doing this grade system, so if you have a better idea for a grading category, make sure to let me know by leaving a comment down below. But for the time being, I came up with 5 categories: gameplay, story, use of VR, bang for buck, and polish. Each category will get a score from 1 to 5, with 1 being the worst and 5 being the best. After tallying up all the points out of 25, I will give the game a final letter grade. With that being said, let's get into the numbers. For gameplay, I gave a 3 with a majority of the points coming from the puzzles. The story gets a big 5 as it did basically everything right. Use of VR gets a low 2 as the only mechanics that made use of VR were the boomerang mechanic. The bang for buck category was a bit difficult to score as there was a decent amount of playtime with the actual story, but the replayability basically doesn't exist, which is why I decided on a 3. Then lastly for polish, I gave a 3 as the art was good, but the bugs and glitches both wasted my time and caused frustration. Using my calculator to add up the numbers, we get 16 out of 25. Doing 16 divided by 25, we get our percentage score of 64%, which gives us a solid D letter grade for Finding Grace. That is going to wrap up today's video. If you enjoyed, make sure to hit that like button down below and subscribe if you want to see more. Also make sure to pick up that notification bell and smash it to a pulp, that way you never miss a video. Thank you to my members, you guys are absolute mad lads, my little lettuces, and my mama bear. Thank you so much for your support. Your generous donations allow me to buy these games to review for you guys on my channel. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody. Bye.